our next guest, who I cannot wait to catch up with. Unanimous All-American Notre Dame, 7-year linebacker for the Chargers, and my favorite team is the Saints. I mean, Manti, you played for like my favorite teams, and that's amazing. You're also, of course, on Netflix's Untold, the doc series. How are you?
I'm doing great. I have two sick babies in the house, so it's a little bit challenging right now, but for the most part, everything is good. Life is good. The babies are growing up, and so I get to see them progress and blossom. And it's the greatest job in the world is being a dad. So, continuing to grow on this end.
Mother's Day just happened. Father's Day is around the corner. What's a perfect Father's Day in Manti Te'o's world?
See, perfect Father's Day, in my opinion, unfortunately, a perfect Father's Day would include football, but it isn't football season just yet in June. But a perfect Father's Day for me would be just with my kids. I would love to barbecue something. My coach always tells me, what is your favorite cheat meal? And I told him some barbecue chicken, some brats, some mac salad, rice, fried rice. It's just something that really warms the soul for me. So I just want to be around the people that brings me the most peace and the most joy. And right now it's my wife and my two children and our English bulldog and some good barbecues. So you give me all of that, Kay, I'm happy.
You are blessed, and I know that you're blessed, which I love. And I hope your little kiddos get to feeling better soon. But I'm calling BS on you immediately because you're not eating any barbecue anything. Are you eating at all is the question. Listen, OTAs are in full swing. Dudes are jacked. They're doing their off-season workouts. You lost 60 pounds since the birth of your son. What's going on?
Well, the thing was, I gained the 60 pounds. That was the first progression. Okay. The dad bod kicked in. Yeah. My playing weight was 238. That was my playing weight. Okay. I got up to 295. And when I was eating all of those crumble cookies and I was doing all of the things I shouldn't have been doing, I was coaching high school football at that time. And one of my linebackers got a pick six. And I remember running down the sideline to celebrate with this young man. And I ran about 20 yards and I felt like my hamstrings were going to pop off. My lungs were going to collapse. And I knew at that point when I tried to side bump him and this little 16-year-old out jumped me, I was like, okay, Manti, you got to get it under control, man. So when my babies came in, I wanted to be the best version of myself so that I could, be an example for them. And I got me a coach. Shout out to Ariel Cuts. And I told him, hey, listen, I ain't running no 40s no more. I'm not chasing no running backs no more. But I just want to feel good. I want to look good. I want to be the best version of myself for my kids. So help me get there. And it's been a great year so far. We're back down where we should be. And now we're just, getting some things going on. I heard you mention Cabo. We're going to Cabo in July. And so I like to joke around with my coach. He's a bodybuilding coach. I say, hey, listen, I got a show this summer. It's at the Grand Velas Resort in Cabo. And that's where I'm, when I'm over there in Cabo, that's going to be my show. So that's our target date for now.
It's a beautiful resort. I know Grand Velas really well done there. That's beautiful. And it's Ariel Cuts Crumble Cookies Out of Your Diet should be the name. Ariel Cuts Crumble Cookies. Those things go hard. Those will kill you. Everything that you just said is so relatable to so many dads out there. I'm imagining them all shaking their heads and nodding and like knowing exactly what you're talking about. Well, you're smiling. Everything's great. And speaking of being in shape, this off season, there's your boy. Let's just get into it. You're very close to Tua Tagovailoa. He is reportedly shredded, down 10 to 15 pounds from last season. You call him your little brother. You talk a lot. What has he shared with you about those goals?
We really don't talk about football. That's a beautiful part about me and Tua's relationship. We'll talk about his dad, Uncle Nalu. We'll talk about his upbringing. We'll talk about how he's doing mentally, how the babies are doing, how life is, going in Florida. He's locked in. I think that's the most important part is he's locked in. His little brother has an opportunity in the NFL now. So I know they're focused in so many different places. But with Tua, he knows he's so good at being able to prioritize what's the most important thing at that time. And for him in the off season, it's time with family, time to spend with the ones who he loves. And obviously getting that grind in, So I know Ryan kind of roasted him, earlier. We kind of talked about it last year. He kind of roasted him for how he looked, and he's coming in, shredded. And I think he's on the non-crumble diet just like me. But I'm so excited for him, to come into this year. I know they have that contract issue. I don't think it's an issue at all. I think Tua's being smart about it. He's being very patient, and the Miami Dolphins love him, and so it's just a matter of time. and he showed up at the building. He's been on campus, and to have your leader there, your general there, they added Odell Beckham there. So they're just continuing to add weapons around this young man, and to see him flourish, and hopefully that check comes soon, and him and uncle and all of them can celebrate, in Florida, and be something that I know, knowing where he's come from, will be a big accomplishment for him and his family.
There were rumors that he might skip OTAs. I imagine you didn't believe those for a second.
No. Even if Tua wanted to skip it, I know Uncle Nolly wouldn't allow him to skip it. So it's just one of those things. Just everybody's going to talk. They're going to create a narrative around different situations. But me knowing Tua, he wasn't going to do that. And, being the leader and having the type of values that he has, understanding what his presence means in the locker room for the long term. It's not about just him getting a contract. If you ask Tua, is getting that contract extension a big part of this whole process? Yes, but Tua's a team player. He's always been somebody who's wanted to win on the highest level, and his mind is on that Super Bowl. He wants to get that trophy. And then for him to be around the campus and be around the facility, and for people to see him, especially with the new guys coming into town, it's big for him, and that's his main thing. All the other stuff will take care of itself.
Let's talk about the Chargers, one of your former teams. New head coach. Everybody's so excited about Jim Harbaugh. You had one game against him back in 2014. Biggest game of your career, my friend, up until that point. What do you remember about this?
I remember that was the first time in my NFL career that I actually started to feel like myself. I remember that the game came easy. I also remember, Frank Gore was torching us for a majority of the first half. I remember he ran the power to the left side of the defense, and he took it down the sideline, and he looked like the young Frank Gore. And, Eric was trying to get him on the sideline, but it was one of those games. I grew up a San Francisco 49er fan, and to play against them and to have that type of game for me personally was a big deal for me. I struggled a lot during my early parts of my career in the NFL, performance-wise. But that was one of those games where I was able to kind of feel that groove coming back a little bit. And what better way to do it than against the team that I used to cheer for as a young kid.
11 combined tackles in that one, your first career sack. It was amazing. Chargers were down big, stormed back to win it. I believe it went to overtime, right?
I think it did. I think it did. All I remember were the big runs by Frank Gore. I remember Colin took off down the middle of the field for like 80 yards. It was just one of those things where it was a game that was stacked up against us late in the game because we're down. But then our offense started to do its thing. Phillip started to be Phillip, making those plays. And, we were able to come out with the win. And, that year, I remember we beat all the California teams that year with the then Oakland Raiders and then the Niners. So we kind of on the way home, we're like, hey, man, we're the state champs right now, So it was kind of something that it reminded us of high school a little bit of being state champs. But, to win that game against the Niners, especially a Jim Harbaugh 49er team, what was a big deal, because back then they were just bruisers. They would just line up and just run the ball, run those powers, run those traps, and then Colin back there would just run around with his speed and make those big plays. And you had Anquan Bolden out there making those big catches. He was a big target coming across the middle. You know what I mean? So that's the Niners that I remember now. The Niners are back. They're Super Bowl contenders almost every year. And so it's a beautiful thing to see the San Francisco 49ers doing so well. But I'm so excited for the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh, he's that piece that I always felt was missing there. If you look at the Chargers from top to bottom, their roster, ever since I got there, Tom Telesco is no longer there. He's with the Raiders. But Tom has always stacked that roster. I always said the best rosters in the NFL, there's three of them: the Chargers, the Eagles, and the Niners. Those are the three most stacked rosters across the NFL. It's just certain pieces, cultural pieces that you look at, on the Chargers standpoint, that I felt that they needed to change a little bit. And I don't think it could get better than Jim Harbaugh. He's won everywhere he's been, all the way back to University of San Diego, went on to Stanford. We know what he did at Stanford, went on to the San Francisco. We know what he did in San Francisco, went back to his alma mater in Michigan, won the national championship. Now he's back where he played, in NFL with the Chargers. So I'm so excited for them. And they got my brother Denzel Perriman back. So they got their guy in the middle. So I'm so excited.
And they got Joel. They got some good things to look forward to. Of course, they got a couple rookies, but couldn't be more excited to have him there. Could not have gone to a tougher division out there in the U.S. We'll see what they can do. I do want to ask, I mean, you speak so, I love talking to you. I love getting your stories, and you have such a beautiful human aspect to it as well. Last time you were on our show, I said somebody's got to scoop you up quick because your analysis is so fantastic. And then I heard, is it true that you just took part in the NFL Broadcasting and Media Workshop? What was that like, and what are your goals now?
I did. I went there specifically because I knew that I wanted to be in a studio type of aspect, a studio type of show. And it was an amazing time, Kay. I thought that I did really well. There has been some talks with me and my agent about, different opportunities. And so we're waiting to hear back from some networks. But it's one of those things. It's the next wave. It's the next ride. And it's a ride that I'm excited to get on. I thought it went well. I think it couldn't get easier than to sit back and talk about football, to articulate football, to give the viewers a different perspective about the game that they may not know. Just things that I've experienced in the locker room, on those airplane rides, conversations that I've heard, relationships that I've built, and obviously having Cam Jordan there was. It was like, brothers reuniting and having him and Tom Armstead. It was just a big goofy brother. Yeah, and then Chase Daniel. I was paired up with Chase, and I played with Chase, and having those type of relationships is like a big reunion for me. And I just felt super comfortable there, and I'm excited for what's ahead.
I can't believe I was talking about Cam Jordan earlier in the show. I don't know how much longer he's going to play. And then I'm thinking, when you play Demario Davis, who you love, he's still playing. Bobby Wagner, now a Commander. It is sort of wild that they're going into their 13th season, and maybe somewhere you will be calling their games or analyzing them and talking about them. And I wish you luck in that. Now go get back to those kiddos and stay away from the crumble cookies.
Thank you, Kay. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Kay.